Do you know how many men I've lost under my command?
How many?
94. But that means I've saved the lives of 10 times that many, doesn't it? And that's how simple it is. That's how you rationalize making the choice between the mission and the men.
Except this time the mission is man.
This Ryan better be worth it.
Saving Private Ryan is a 1998 epic war film directed by Steven Spielberg that would become a major box office success and is considered by many to be one of the greatest films ever made. The movie begins with the United States Army invasion of Nazi German-occupied Normandy, France on D-Day, June 6, 1944. 2nd Ranger Battalion Captain John H. Miller, played by Tom Hanks, takes command of a group of men and leads them to victory at Omaha Beach.
This beach make way for the other! This is all we got between us and the Almighty! Every inch of this beach has been pre-sighted! You stay here, you're getting there!
After the invasion, the United States Department of War receives word that 2 brothers, Sean and Peter Ryan of Peyton, Iowa, were both killed at Omaha and Utah Beach landing sectors in Normandy. A 3rd brother, Daniel Ryan, was killed the previous week in the Pacific fighting the Japanese in New Guinea. The United States Army Chief of Staff, General George C. Marshall, played by Harve Presnell, is informed that their mother will receive all 3 telegrams informing her of their deaths.
The boy's alive. We are going to send somebody to find him. And we are going to get him the hell out of there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Captain Miller is tasked with putting together a group of soldiers and recovering Ryan somewhere in dangerous Nazi-occupied France.
You and I are taking a squad over to Newville on a public relations mission.
Boy, you leading a squad?
Some private in the 101st lost 3 brothers and he's got a ticket home.
How come Newville?
Yeah, I think he's up there somewhere, part of all those airborne misdrops.
Come on, let's go.
It's not going to be easy finding one particular soldier in the middle of this whole goddamn
Right,
war.
and a needle and a stack of needles.
Joining Miller are 3 New Yorkers: Brooklyn native Private Richard Ribon, played by Edward Burns; Yonkers native Private Stanley Mellish, played by Adam Goldberg; and Private Adrian Caparzo, played by Vin Diesel. Also joining the mission are West Fork, Tennessee sniper Private Daniel Jackson, played by Barry Pepper; Medic Irwin Wade, played by Giovanni Ribisi; Technical Sergeant Mike Horvath, played by Tom Sizemore; and interpreter and combat inexperienced Timothy Upham, played by Jeremy Davies. The men battle Germans as they head across Normandy in search of Private Ryan. They eventually find him, played by Matt Damon, and inform him about his brothers.
Your brothers were killed in combat.
Which ones?
All of them.
Defiant, Ryan insists on staying at his post with his fellow soldiers.
It doesn't make any sense, sir. Why? Why me? Why do I deserve to go? Why not any of these guys? They all fought just as hard as me.
Is that what they're supposed to tell your mother? When they send her another folded American flag?
Tell her that when you found me, I was here, and I was with the only brothers that I have left. And that there's no way I was going to desert them.
Writer Robert Rodat first came up with the film's story in 1994 when he saw a monument dedicated to 4 sons of Agnes Allison of Port Carbon, Pennsylvania. The brothers were killed in the American Civil War. He decided to write a similar story that was set during World War II. The script was submitted to producer Mark Gordon, who then handed it to Tom Hanks. It was finally given to Steven Spielberg, who decided to direct. The film's premise is very loosely based on the real-life case of the Nyland brothers, who were 4 American brothers from New York, 2 of whom were killed in Normandy, and a third who was originally presumed dead but survived after being a Japanese prisoner of war in Burma. Steven Spielberg claimed that he considered the film a passion project as a gift to his aging father, who was a World War II veteran. Steven Spielberg is on record as saying that even had the film been rated NC-17, he would have released it uncut. Mel Gibson and Harrison Ford were both considered for the role of Captain Miller before Steven Spielberg decided on casting Tom Hanks. Billy Bob Thornton turned down the role of Sergeant Horvath because he did not want to film the Normandy beach scenes due to his phobia of water. Michael Madsen was offered the role of Sergeant Horvath, and he turned it down as well, recommending his friend Tom Sizemore for the part. Tom Sizemore was battling drug addiction during production. Steven Spielberg gave him an ultimatum and said that he would be tested on set every single day of filming, and if he failed the test just once, he would be fired and the part of Sergeant Horvath would be recast and reshot with somebody else, even if it was at the end of the production. Tom Sizemore agreed to the drug tests, and he passed every single one of them during production.
What if by some miracle we stay and actually make it out of here? Someday we might look back on this and decide that Saving Private Ryan was the one decent thing we were able to pull out of this whole god-awful shitty mess.
Steven Spielberg cast Matt Damon as Private Ryan because he wanted an unknown actor with an all-American look.
And the Oscar goes to Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Yeah!
What Spielberg didn't expect was that Matt Damon would win an Oscar for Good Will Hunting, which came out in 1997, and would become an overnight star before Saving Private Ryan was released. Edward Norton was offered the role of Private Ryan, but he turned it down to work on American History X instead. Harrison Young, who was cast as the elder Ryan due to his striking resemblance to Matt Damon, was 68 years old during production, playing a character in his 70s. When casting the film, Steven Spielberg said he wanted to cast actors who would look the part. Specifically, he believed that people back during World War II looked different than people did in the 1990s. Spielberg said he wanted the cast to match the faces he saw on newsreels. The cast endured a grueling week-long course at boot camp, instructed by technical advisor Dale Dye, who also has a brief role in the film. All the principal actors, except for Matt Damon, underwent several days of that training. Matt Damon was spared so that the other actors would resent him, and maybe that would be subconsciously conveyed on film.
Sir, what about them? I mean, there's barely hardly enough
asshole.
of this.
2 of our guys already died trying to find you, all right?
Sir.
That's right.
What were their names?
Arwen Wade and Adrian Capazzo.
Wade and...
Capazzo.
The Omaha beach scene cost $12 million to shoot. There were 1,500 extras, 400 crew, 1,000 volunteer and Irish Army soldiers, and about 30 amputees and paraplegics fitted with prosthetic limbs to portray disfigured soldiers. The Omaha beach scene was shot in the south of Ireland, on Ballinesker Beach. Filming began on June 27, 1997, and ended August 27, 1997. The special effects team rigged the actors' rifles with special sensors that sent a signal to exploding squibs located on their targets. Shortly after the actor would pull the trigger, the targeted squib would detonate, creating a more realistic impact for the shooter and the target. The 2 German soldiers who are shot trying to surrender were actually Czech. They were speaking Czech. They were saying, "Please don't shoot me. I am not German. I am Czech. I didn't kill anyone. I am Czech." The characters were portraying Czech soldiers who had been taken prisoner by the Germans and been forced into the German army. It's kind of sad when you think about it, isn't it? Matt Damon ad-libbed the story he tells towards the end of the movie about spying on his brother in the barn with the ugly girl.
There was my oldest brother, Dan, with Alice, Alice Jardine. I mean, picture a girl who just took a nosedive from the ugly tree and hit every branch coming down.
As described in Peter Bart's book, The Gross, the speech was rambling, and if you think about it, it's not particularly interesting or funny. It seemed like something that an uninformed kid like Private Ryan would talk about to his captain, Tom Hanks.
And he's dragging her at the same time he picks up a shovel and he's going after Sean. And Sean's saying, "What are you trying to hit me for? I just did you a favor."
The score was composed by longtime Steven Spielberg collaborator John Williams, best known for his work on films including The Poseidon Adventure, Jaws, Star Wars, Superman, Home Alone, JFK, and many, many others. There isn't too much score throughout the film, as Spielberg wanted to keep the music limited, and that works. DreamWorks marketing chief Terry Press said that it was very risky to release a serious drama in the middle of summer, a time usually reserved for more family fun popcorn movies, but this was offset by the popularity of Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks. Steven Spielberg had very low expectations, believing the movie was too violent to attract broad audiences. He was proven very, very wrong. Saving Private Ryan was released into theaters on July 21st, 1998, and went on to gross $481.8 million worldwide, making it the second highest grossing film in the world in 1998, behind Armageddon. In the United States alone, it grossed a total of $216.5 million, narrowly beating Armageddon and making Saving Private Ryan the highest grossing film of 1998 in the United States. I saw this movie in theaters with my parents in the summer of 1998. I remember I was in our den playing a Super Nintendo video game when my father walked in the room and said, "Put your shoes on, we're going to see Saving Private Ryan." I went with my mom and dad to the theater very late at night, and I remember sitting there awestruck, especially by the opening 27 minutes or so of the D-Day scene. Saving Private Ryan was the very first R-rated film that I ever saw in a movie theater. Cinemas were instructed to up the volume when they showed the movie, as the sound effects play such a crucial part in the overall effect. Steven Spielberg also requested that no one gain admittance to the theater once the movie had already begun, just as Alfred Hitchcock had done during the release of Psycho in 1960. Many World War II veterans describe the opening of Saving Private Ryan as depicting the most realistic representation of combat. The Department of Veteran Affairs set up a special 800 number to help the hundreds of former World War II soldiers who were traumatized after seeing the film. Saving Private Ryan was nominated for 11 Academy Awards and would end up winning 5. While they were mostly on the technical side, Steven Spielberg did take home his second Best Director award after winning one for the 1993 film Schindler's List. However, in what was a huge upset, this movie did not win Best Picture. Instead, the Best Picture award went to the movie Shakespeare in Love. The film losing out to Shakespeare in Love for Best Picture is often named as one of the greatest Oscar blunders in the history of the awards show. In 2015, some Academy members were polled and asked about controversial Best Picture choices of the past. Overwhelmingly, not giving Saving Private Ryan Best Picture seemed to be the main choice. Saving Private Ryan won Best Cinematography, Best Film Editing, Best Sound, and Best Sound Effects. Tom Hanks was nominated for Best Actor. This is the last movie edited on a non-digital editing system to win an Academy Award for editing. Saving Private Ryan was released on VHS in May 1999. It became the most successful rental debut of its time, earning $9.6 million in its first week of rentals and $44 million by July 1999. In rentals! Saving Private Ryan was also one of the very last films to be released on Laserdisc in November 1999. Laserdiscs ceased being manufactured at the end of that year. Saving Private Ryan was credited with renewing interest in World War II leading into the 21st century. 3 years after the movie's release, the United States suffered the September 11, 2001 attacks, and the nation moved into a period of patriotism not seen since World War II. Many pundits noted at the time that the baby boomer generation born after the Second World War faced their greatest historical test after 9/11.
The boomers have lately become fascinated by the idea of service and sacrifice, but they've done it as usual vicariously through going to see Saving Private Ryan or whatever.
I know.
This is the real thing now. And we didn't enlist then, but we've all enlisted now because there's no place where people are not combatants.
Is this guy Henry V we're looking at right now? Is this Shakespeare's Henry V? The man who messed around and drank too much when he was a kid but became a hero king when he got older?
He is the classic baby boomer, late bloomer.
Late bloomer.
Late bloomer. By his own account. Guy who didn't do a heck of a lot until he was nearly 40, who straightened up his life, who focused, who met the right woman, got right with God, and took on the responsibilities and the fate that he had no idea was awaiting for him.
Saving Private Ryan aired for the first time on American network television on ABC on Veterans Day, November 11th, 2001. It aired completely uncut to a nationwide audience of 18 million people.
Tom Hanks and Matt Damon, the network premiere of Saving Private Ryan, presented uncut Sunday at 8/7 Central on ABC. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
After completing this movie, Steven Spielberg was inspired to create the video game Medal of Honor for the PlayStation video game system under the DreamWorks video game division. In the wake of the film's success and influence, the game went on to be a huge seller for the PlayStation console, resulting in numerous sequels including Medal of Honor Frontline in 2002, which features a D-Day opening similar to the one in the movie. When I was a young teenager, I played the Medal of Honor video game on PlayStation. Both Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks would go on to create and produce the HBO miniseries Band of Brothers that had a lot of influence from the movie Saving Private Ryan. The first episode of Band of Brothers drew 10 million views when it aired on Sunday, September 9th, 2001. 2 days later, the 9/11 attacks took place and HBO ceased its marketing campaign for the series. Nevertheless, Band of Brothers would go on to be very critically acclaimed. In 2006, Tom Hanks was inducted into the U.S. Army Ranger Hall of Fame as an honorary member, largely thanks to his portrayal of Captain John Miller. In 2014, the United States Library of Congress selected Saving Private Ryan to be preserved in the National Film Registry for being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant to American history. I agree. Saving Private Ryan is a spectacular film, and it's very reminiscent of the war epics of the mid-20th century, such as The Longest Day or Battle of the Bulge. I'm proud to have been just old enough to have seen it in theaters in 1998 when it came out, and actually be able to say that I saw one of the great World War II epics of the 20th century for a first-time theatrical view of cinematic history. I highly recommend the 1998 war epic, Saving Private Ryan.